Hello, my friends. Let's talk about the opposition between Venus and Pluto today. So, this is one of the more infamous aspects to have in Synastry because of the amount of passion and intensity that it can often bring out. It's famous in the composite chart as well. But this is one of those aspects that can have us really reaching out to the extremes of behavior. We can bring things out in each other that are unusual. To the degree that we desire intensity in order to experience ourselves, or that we are seeking intensity, which actually is the search for drama, to the degree that we have that going on within ourselves, that is going to contribute to the extremes that we can go to when we have this particular opposition. If you have a natal chart that has Pluto in aspect to the inner planets, particularly to the Sun, the Moon, or Venus, then this is one of those aspects where we can find an outlet to act out the type of growth, behavior modification that is really indicated by those hard aspects. So we're drawn to each other very, very magnetically with this opposition. The Venus person doesn't always pick it up, because if they are really trepidatious about engaging in something that's going to bring out some very, very serious and intense feelings and oftentimes resulting experiences, if they don't want to pick that up, then many times we will back away from this particular aspect. Some people are up for this opposition because they're driven towards intensity or conflict. Some people are up for this opposition because they really know themselves and they understand how they react and behave within relationships, and they're confident in how they can handle themselves. So it's an interesting one to deal with, because there are a lot of lusty feelings that will come up between the two of us. We're not necessarily romantically compatible, though. This opposition is not showing us if we have a lifestyle in common, or if we want the same things from life. It's really showing more about the ability to satisfy some primal passion, some irresistible craving within us. We feel like we finally found somebody that's going to be able to bring us that ultimate feeling of satisfaction. And we may not have other things going on between the two of us that are going to contribute to longevity or compatibility. So a lot of descriptions about this opposition really don't take that into account, and will describe it as, the great passion, or the aspect that will always result in the most incredible relationship. And well, we may have that encounter, but it doesn't tell us anything outside of have we found somebody that we feel is going to be able to satisfy a deep, deep craving within us. And often that craving is for security. That's what's at the basis of it, is we've found somebody that we feel is as equally as obsessed, invested as we are, and that is an insurance Pluto and Venus is the axes of insurance. So the guise that this often takes is romance, lust, but it's really in service to ensuring our own security within that relationship. So the Pluto person is very keen to move in on the Venus person. And the Venus person is quite enraptured with the Pluto person as well. But it's the outer planet that asserts itself first. The inner planet consciously picks that up and thinks, oh, I've started something here. But it's always the outer planet that moves in first in synastry. And Pluto's how we change the people around us. In relationships, how we put pressure on, stress, or offer advice, or changes, and how the other people respond to that. So Pluto's often how we don't even realize how we are changing people or altering people or having a deep effect on people. And the Venus person is changed in some way. They're touched by the Pluto person in some life-altering way. So we do feel like the other person has moved us in a very, very consequential way with this opposition. And it can be very hard to move on from that feeling or from that most intimate connection, because we do feel like there's an unusual intimacy that has been experienced with this opposition that often gives people the idea that that meant that this was the end-all be-all, or this was the relationship they were supposed to have, because this is often present in relationships that actually don't make it because the intensity of the encounter is too much, or it just brings out too much extreme feeling. It can burn itself out. Some people can't handle this for the long term. Certainly. We see even those difficult aspects negotiated well in some relationships. But for the most part, this is one of those that, especially if we have drama seeking in the natal chart, this is one of those that can burn itself out rather than contribute to a healthy, warm, satisfying glow. So the taste it leaves in our mouth is extraordinary after the relationship ends. And that can make it very, very hard to move on, because we can feel like I'm never going to find anything that will be able to replace this. And you really have to detach from it in the same way that you would detach from an addiction, because we are really looking for that high, that intensity of encounter. And the rest of life can feel very deflating, can feel very boring after we come out of a relationship that has this opposition or other intense things too. Other intense aspects can lead to that feeling of, well, what else is there to do? I mean, I've had the most intense, amazing experience, and the rest of life just seems very lackluster. It can take a while for us to come down from that high and start to re-engage with life in a more normal way. So looking at the process of healing from an addiction and following some of that advice can be very, very helpful when we are dealing with this opposition, because we're dealing with an emotional and mental addictive state when we have those difficult aspects between Venus and Pluto. So a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear can come with this opposition, because we have that process of insurance, of using each other to achieve a type of personal security. And that actually does put us highly at risk, because that security is dependent upon the other person. And, well, they could do anything. So we'll often have to bring in methods of either manipulation or control or positioning or leverage in order to keep that investment in its place and secure. So a lot of anxiety and feeling like the other shoe could drop at any time really does come up into the relationship with this opposition. But if it's there and we have other things that are compatible, that are bringing a sense of security, of similar lifestyle, hopes and dreams, life view, this is something that we can live with, that we could work out. It may be a more unusually intense relationship in that we could have periods of really having some of our anxieties or our fears erupt. We could have jealousy within the relationship, even if it's a long-term relationship. We could have more keeping tabs on each other because we're really afraid of what the other person might do, or who they could be attracted to, because that puts us at great risk. So there is some exhaustion that can come with these difficult aspects from Venus to Pluto. And this is one of those that, again, it is harder to maintain on a long-term basis because of the amount of intense feelings, anxiety, attachment issues that we may be dealing with. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please subscribe to my channel. You can find me on the internet at truthandaspectastrology.com. Check me out over on Patreon if you're interested in more content, and I will be back super soon with more videos.